Hello everyone, I hope you're uncommonly well today. Please, if you are new here, click the link in the description box and go and listen to me on the post on which I have embedded this program so that you can listen while you work, while you get something done like we used to in the old days. But before you go, I'll share my teacup with you. This was sent to me by Amy, who has on the Journey blog and does the beautiful newsletter. I can drop her name because she's been to my house and I've been to her house, even though she lives in another state. Now, also, I want to share with you, those of you who are interested in, getting dressed up for the day at home, maybe digging a little further in your closet and wanting to be a little more special. You can always wear an apron over some of these things and protect them. Now, today I want to show you something that I had spoken to you before about, and that was how to turn an outfit into a more Regency Austenese look. And so I just wanted to show you today what I'm wearing. It's a full-length dress and a little jacket, and so I wanted to show you how to turn this into a Regency look. First of all, you have to have a full-length dress of the same print or color. The skirt and blouse does not work with this, but here's a way you can make anything look Regency if you have a full-length dress and a jacket, or you could wear a two-piece outfit if it was all the same color. First of all, I'm going to button my jacket up, and then I'll show you how you can turn this under to make a Regency look if you feel like it, without sewing, without taping, without anything. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just turn the first part of the front up and then the second part up. This will probably stay put too, because you can just easily tuck it and adjust it. Now you see how that works, and then you just leave the back down. You can turn that up too, but don't you think that looks more Regency that way? And so I just wanted to show you that little trick. With many of your things, you can just turn the collar up, and there you have it, a little Regency jacket. Now, isn't that clever? And you can also maybe turn it up further if you want to just hide that button, and if you want it a little bit higher, you could turn it up. So I hope you can get something out of that. It's just some little, I don't like to go to any trouble. I have in the past, when I've been invited to some kind of Regency get-together with women, I have taped it. You don't need to do that. I've used masking tape. If you want to tape something like a hem, you use the masking tape. It doesn't damage the cloth. The masking tape is the construction tape, the carpenter's tape that you tape around your windows and things, and you just peel it off. It's kind of a paperish tape. So today, if you have not got dressed, then I would encourage you to do that. Maybe I could keep you a little company while you get dressed too. I have a few things to talk to you about today. It's not going to be a very long program today, but maybe if you'd like to go on your little Jane Austen walk, or whatever it is you do, and do some of your routine. And I suggested to some of you earlier in a video before this that you go and walk through your house. If you just don't have the energy, and if you wake up, some people have a problem, they wake up discouraged. It could be lack of fresh air. In the olden days, we used to open our windows a crack, even in winter, and we wore hats into bed. And with the centralized heating and with the insulated houses, we haven't done that quite so much, and I wonder if some of our anxiety might have something to do with the fact that we're not getting up and walking around or having enough fresh air. So part of your appearance, besides getting dressed and getting your hair done and getting yourself fixed up and giving yourself a smile, is to get up more. Part of your appearance is your health. So I would suggest that if you have some sitting down work to do, or even if you're standing in one position or you're doing something in your house, to stop every hour and walk, or go outside, stand on your little deck and go outside and I call it my observation deck, because sometimes the weather is so crazy, either too hot or too cold, that I don't go much further. I call my observation deck. Go out on your observation deck for just a minute and come back in. And one thing that I do, if I have a lot of sitting down work to do, for example, maybe I'm catching up on paying bills, writing letters, answering things, ordering things, and maybe at the computer, that after I order one thing, I get up and I go outside and walk. The other thing is, after I have answered one piece of mail and I've got it addressed, I've got the stamp on it, and it's all sealed, I'll get up and I will, instead of waiting until I have a stack of mail that thick and then taking it all out to the box, what I do is I get up and I walk out with that one letter to the mailbox at the end of the drive and stick it in, put the flag up, and then if I'm lucky, if I'm blessed with more time, I'll write another one, but I won't sit here and wait till there's a stack of them and then get up, because I need to get up every hour or half an hour and walk down there. I think one of the problems with brain fog is the fact that we don't get up very much. Now, somebody left a wonderful comment, and I want to thank you a lot for leaving that, about brain fog and about just this foggy thinking and how it might have something to do with our outdoors or the air. But I would like to mention something else that I have noticed in myself that has changed since the war, and that was when they had us all, locked down. I quit driving in my car, and I didn't realize how much time I had spent in there. That can really give you a lot of foggy thinking, and some people just spend a lot of time in their cars, and that can mess up some thinking. Now, some people think better while they're driving, while they're traveling, but it can really, in my opinion, in my experience, it causes me to draw a blank. I just come up with a blank with my mind, and when I get back in the house, like this lady said when she wrote the comment, I didn't find it to read it today, I'm so sorry, but it was so well put. And she said it takes her hours after she gets home to unwind and to focus back. Well, I have noticed a change when I quit driving so much. That car has sat out there such a long time. I've got the same tank of gas in it I had a month ago, and I avoid it at all costs. I know I will have to go out, but I always find ways of ordering something, and I'll think, I've got all these plans, I got this list, and I'll think, oh, I guess I'll have to go out, and it's kind of looking forward to it, and then I think, no, I think I'll order it all. But I have noticed how different I feel. For many decades, my relief from homemaking and from the ardors of home, it's very grueling work, and it's isolating, and it's hard. And one of the things I looked forward to the most was going to the places that were my favorites. It kind of stimulated me to walk around, see the new products, get excited about bringing something home that would enhance my home, and I really enjoyed that. And then I realized after things changed a bit, and the atmosphere in these places changed a bit, and I felt that people were being watched all the time. It was so different that I realized how much we had come to depend on that as part of our recreation and part of our feeling normal and feeling stable. And now our focus is so different, and now my thinking is clearing up. At first, not so much, but I think it's clearing up, and I'm able to grasp a thought and go deeper and put meaning into my home and to the atmosphere for other people. And you might not understand that unless you stay home for a little while and clear your brain. Because out there, what have we got? You get into one of your favorite places, and it's noise. Noisic, my father used to call it. It's not music, it's noise. It's just constant barrage of music you didn't choose. And years ago, there was a law passed by the citizens against smoking in public places because it was considered so dangerous for people to breathe secondhand smoke. They could get cancer just breathing that secondhand smoke, and it was bad for children and babies. Well, now there's no smoke in those public places. Restaurants are free of smoke, and stores are free of smoke. The sidewalk's free of smoke, but the noise. That's another assault on our senses, is the noise. Well, once I got free of the noise, what kind of music? Now, Hobby Lobby has the nice spiritual type tunes. That's nice too. Sometimes that music though will make me feel a little uneasy, especially since I've been without it for so long. However, I'm talking about your grocery stores and your restaurants and other places, even your hardware stores. You go in there and you don't get a choice of what that music is. And I noticed in the beginning when this music started coming out in the stores, how much it sounded like a war. One way you can defeat people is with noise. And I noticed that people were using their little earbuds and they were tuning in their phones to a music that they liked, and I thought that was pretty good. And I could hear some of them humming their hymns or their own music while they're in stores just to protect themselves. But what an awful place to take children with all that noise, because some people have suspected it's a type of dulling of the senses or even indoctrination, because you can't hear anything, can't hear what it is. But my brain fog is, I hope, decreasing because of it, and my goal is to come here without this paper, without notes, and so that everything that I say, I can just, by the last word in the previous sentence, go on to the next thing. And some people are pretty clever about that. So get dressed, and then when you have jobs to do, stop every hour and go out. I know a lady who has a phone, has an app on her phone that alerts her every hour, so she will get up. And she lost a lot of weight just getting up. She'd just get up and go to another room. So I want to also talk about homemaking. And there are people in this world, and I'm thinking of these tyrannical globalist people that just don't want us to be happy. Because what makes people happy? Basic things that they have attacked and made difficult for us. Your home, your people that you like to talk to, your communication, your good food. People like to go out and eat their favorite foods, but we've all brought this back to the home. Well, now that things are in the home, there's going to be, you mark my words, this started decades ago because I felt it as a homemaker. So I know there are people that just don't want you to be happy at home, and they will disturb it as much as they can. I can't exactly go into it right now, but they're the same old, they used to be called cynics. Cynicism. I've described that on a post years ago. They were called cynics. Well, now they call them narcissists, and narcs for short, which I think is misnamed, because I think narcissists are just distractors, detractors, and liars. And it's the same as a cynic would say something like, "Oh, are you going to do something housewifey today?" And they would make these comments that would make you feel put down, like what you were doing was not important, and you'd think in shame, "Oh my, it must seem like I'm not doing anything too highly important or intellectual," and it can get into your head. So one of the things I want to tell you that you need to be prepared for, first of all, is they don't want you to be happy, and the basic things that make you happy: nice clothes, good products that enhance your home. There isn't a perception that a homemaker, this has gone on for a long time. Probably I noticed it more in the 60s, 1960s. I know you were thinking 1860s because I'm elderly. Was that a homemaker didn't, because she wasn't out earning a living and bringing in money, that she didn't deserve nice furniture, or she should not go have a car, or go on a trip, or have lovely clothes, or be interested in nice equipment in the kitchen, a blender or anything like that, or coffee maker. Maybe she, and this attitude was, well, she doesn't deserve it because she's not out hustling, working like I am. And there will be people that I think today will still have that attitude. However, we've made progress because the state has sent everyone home in some states and some countries. And so even the men have to stay home and figure out how they're going to earn a living. And there's not going to be any more of that talk for a while. However, I need to tell you that if you're raising children, this will be the bravest battle you ever fought at home. And I will tell you from my experience that I was fine and nobody bothered me till I had children. And then all of a sudden there was a war about what they were wearing, a war about what they were eating, a war about the time we spent at home and places they weren't allowed to. We didn't take them some places, and a war between me and the world. And a war about what we were teaching them, a war about the Bible and the church and the way that they were being raised. It was always somebody had an opinion. Well, now that they're all grown, they don't bother me quite so much. So it was, the state wants your children from the age of 1 to 18. Then it's their business. But once they turn 18, well, they don't really mess with you too much regarding your, what your decisions are. Because nobody bothers me right now, but it's a battle for the mind. So anyway, I want to read this poem to you, and you can just take it in as to however you see it and however you feel it, and hopefully you're strong enough to stand up for your children and keep them with you, and don't let the state dictate and don't let the world dictate to you. So as to how you're going to manage your home and how you're going to eat. And, there's always a pull. There's things out there that are always a pull for your children's preferences, to create preferences in them. When I was growing up, back in the olden days, we didn't eat out. There were restaurants, but those were for the truckers. Those were for the men that didn't have homes, didn't have places to go, and they were restaurants. The food wasn't quite as excellent as our own mother's cooking, but I remember even at church dinners, there were no boxed foods or convenience foods or anything frozen, unless it was our own, garden produce. And so I think that now, of course, why not develop a certain taste? And then once a child grows up on a certain taste, they don't want anything else. And so it goes the other way too, and that is at home, once they develop the taste for their mother's food preparation and their family's choice of foods, they don't really care to eat something else. So, and of course the world knows this, and so they use it the opposite way. So here's a poem that I learned a long time ago. The Bravest Battle That Ever Was Fought, by Joaquin Miller. I don't know what date it was that this was written. The bravest battle that ever was fought, shall I tell you where and when? On the maps of the world you will find it not. 'Twas fought by the mothers of men. Nay, not with the cannon of battle shot, with a sword or noble pen. Nay, not with the eloquent words or thought from mouth of wonderful men, but deep in a walled-up woman's heart, of a woman that would not yield, but bravely, silently bore her part. Lo, there is the battlefield. No marshalling troops, no bivouac song. Now, I want to tell you what a bivouac is, okay? That sounds French. Does that not sound French to you? Don't know why that sounds French to me, but bivouac. A temporary camp without tents or cover, especially used by soldiers or mountaineers. Or, as a verb, it's staying in a temporary camp without cover. Now, I know a little bit about this because of my stealth camping interest in this Canadian stealth campers. There's a couple of them I watch on their videos that they have camps sometimes without a tent. And I always wondered, what was that all about? Well, that's what the bivouac is. Now, you might pronounce that differently, and you can tell me more about it. And I will try to put this on the post. So that's why I say, if you're new here, go to the post, because you can listen to this and also see pictures of the manse and see some of the things that I have spoken of, and I will type them. So, no marshalling troops, no bivouac song, no, or is that bivouac song? No banner to gleam and wave, but oh, those battles, they last so long, from babyhood to the grave. Yet faithful still as a bridge of stars, she fights in her walled-up town, fights on in her endless wars, then silent, unseen, goes down. O ye with banners and battle shot, and soldiers to shout and praise, I tell you the kingliest victories were fought in those silent ways. O spotless woman in a world of shame, with splendid and silent scorn, go back to God as white as you came, the kingliest warrior born. Now, isn't that true? And how little we appreciated our own ancestors for the battle they fought for the home, because we're in an era, and maybe they were too, even in Victorian times, where the commercial world was so loud and so obvious that it kind of took over the thoughts and the mind, and especially in the area of earning a living, it was bigger than life, and the home seems to be diminished in our minds because of the loudness of the world. And it's not just the media, it's also the commercial area. And so I wanted to remind you of the two things that I was talking about when I cut myself off so weirdly in my previous video. I interrupted myself with my thoughts, and that's the trouble with being two people. You know this, excuse me, you know this saying that you've seen on t-shirts and on plaques all over the place. It's that if you see me talking to myself, it's because I'm trying to get good advice. Well, there's a new one out that you might like, and it was, every day I talk to myself, and then the two of us just laugh and laugh and laugh. Well, see, that's the trouble with being two people, is that you can interrupt yourself quite a bit. But I told you last time, before I quit, is that there are two ways of teaching. And so for the homemaking, we would tell them, we would talk about the theory. The theory is what are talking about it, reading about it, teaching about it, and it's like teaching a child to make a bed. You tell them about it and why we do it, and then you show them how to do it, and then you stand back and let them do it. But so that's theory and practice. So the homemaking is part theory and part practice. And so we're living in an era where we want to make our religion known. We want to make our beliefs known. We want to have a live our faith. We want to live our faith. We don't want to just talk about it. And so one of the problems you have to look out for is you have to be very discerning as to whether someone is receptive or not. And you can't just go in, let's say I don't want to send my children to public school, or I don't want to wear a mask, or I don't want to take any kind of chemical into my body. And also, we can't be, I'm getting distracted by that other thought. We will say we don't want to, the state to give us force a chemical on us. But what about your shampoos? And what about your face creams and your perfumes? Those are things that once they're on your hair or skin or scalp, goes directly into your liver, which is one of the most, I believe, the most important organ of your body. So let's not be hypocritical about that. And what about all the over-the-counter and your medicine cabinet and all the aspirin and stuff? You check out what you're taking and look into it to make sure you're not giving yourself stuff that you would object to if someone else forced it on you. And be very careful and be healthy by being natural as you can. But one of the things that I wanted to mention about this, wanting how to live your faith, how to be able to live your faith without drawing undue attention to yourself and creating a problem around it. You don't just get up in someone's face and start talking about why you're at home, or why women should not be out working if they've got a home and a family to look after. And some of you that are alone have found that even without that, there is so much to do. Just improving yourself, just your mental self-improvement and your home, and just reaching further and improving the dwelling place, and finding different ways to do things, and learning to sew, and finding different interests. That you shouldn't argue about it. You should just do it. And that's the best way, is to show it. And I will read you a scripture about that, because a lot of people really get confused about that, and they think, well, if someone's, let's say, for example, someone comes into your home, you're having a tea with ladies, and they're rude. Well, isn't it honest just to tell them off? Isn't it honest just to tell them to quit it? And isn't it honest to let your beliefs be known about something. Maybe they're talking about something that's wrong. Shouldn't you correct them? We have to be really discerning about this, because if you bring attention to yourself and stir up, there's a proverb. I can't find it right now. It's in Proverbs. And it's that a foolish man takes a dog by the ears. And that means the dog is sleeping on the porch and not bothering anybody, and somebody picks him up by his ears. Well, he's going to bite, and he's going to yelp, and you're going to stir him up. Some people you don't want to stir up, but you can still live your faith. You can still live and do what's right, and especially when it comes to homemaking. And that is, you can teach it, but you have to practice it, and they have to see your life, that even though you go out and you go shopping, you know that your place is, and your responsibility is at home, and that is your goal. And so I'm going to read some verses from the book of James. Now, theologians in the past, especially the ones of a certain type of persuasion, did not like James because they couldn't seem to reconcile it with their belief, that kind of a fatalistic belief that you just let things happen, and you just live by your faith alone, and God's just going to take care of everything. And so you let the house fall apart, you let the roof cave in, and you don't do anything. It was kind of a fatalism. And there are religious beliefs that are like that today, that you don't have to do anything. And so I'm going to read this to you, because if you want to live your faith, you can state it, you can be a homemaker, you can teach homemaking, but that's your theory, and then you have to go and prove it and live it. And that's the whole purpose of the theory part, is to motivate you to live it. So here it is. What good is it? It's chapter 2 of James, and it's starting in verse 14. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, be warmed and be filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. That's been one of my pet peeves. We were talking in our ladies' fellowship last week about how people have this perception of the Christian lady and the homemaker as someone who does everything for free or doesn't need anything. And it's like I said in the beginning, there's a perception that if you're a homemaker, you don't need to have nice furniture. You don't really need to have a car. You don't need, because that's materialistic, and Christians should just live by faith only. They don't have any other needs. But we do, because we're serving others, and when we invite them in, we want them to have a place to sit. We want them to have a nice dish to eat off of, and we want to give them our best. But then there is this perception that if you've raised your kids in the Lord and you've homeschooled them, and you always wish that you had your own place or a house or something of your own, someone is going to tell you, yes, but you have a legacy that is spiritual. And that's that go and be warmed and be filled stuff. And we have to be very careful. Yes, we can admire people because they have given their families a great legacy, spiritual legacy, and they have taught them great things. But we also have to realize that doesn't give them a down payment on a house. And we have to be really careful, because would they want to live like that with nothing to show for, some women would really dearly love to have a little place of their own. And when you say something like that, go in peace and be warmed and be filled. When you say something like that, remember, it has to have some practice that goes with it. But someone will say, "You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You believe that God is one. You do well. Even the demons believe and shudder. Do you want to be shown, you foolish person, that faith apart from works is useless? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered up his son Isaac on the altar? You see that faith was active along with his works, and faith was completed by his works. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness, and he was called a friend of God. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. And in the same way, Was not also Rahab the prostitute justified by works when she received the messengers and sent them out by another way? For as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from the works is dead. Now, so that is what I'm telling you, is that homemaking, you're going to read about it. We have Mrs. Dunwoody's books, and we have other homemaking books that I've read about it. It's really nice, and I've collected a mountain of them. But one day I was going through some of them thinking, and I read something in one of Emily Barnes' books about cleaning out your refrigerator, and I thought that was really useful, and I started reading. It was so interesting, and the pictures were so pretty, and then I thought, I better get to work. And I headed straight over there to get that cleaned out and get that done. So we have to be really diligent that while we believe in the home and the family, we have to back it up with what we do. And so homes, it's very easy to let things slide in the home, and you don't notice it until there's a big crisis. Well, it's the same with the family. It's like that poem, The Bravest Battle That Was Ever Fought. It was fought by the mothers of men. That, honestly, is hard to see in our nation and in the era that we live in, how that started to slide, and how the mothers were put down when they decided to choose their battles and not fight certain things, like maybe the clothing that they wore. I once asked a mother who had a daughter that came to one of our fellowship teas, and on the quiet I asked her, does it bother you how your daughter dresses? Because it was extremely bizarre and bare and everything. And she said, yes, it does bother me, but I don't want to fight. I don't want the fight. And so these battles that these people have fought, little by little, things have slid because the terror that it brought on the mother and the stress was not worth it for, to be sick and to be so upset and nervous meant you wouldn't be any good to anybody during the day. And maybe if they had more people in the family to look after, she had to choose her battles. And so we didn't see, I don't think, how much things had slid in our nation. And even today, with all that is going on, what are people concerned about? They're concerned about their jobs, and they're concerned about their health. But it still hasn't come to this overall concern about the home and the family, and the and what it's going to do to the character of our children, and how it's affecting the character of our people, and biblically what to do, which is right. And we hope that one day people will get back to thinking about, because the state interfered with our churches. I don't see a big uproar about that so much as interfering with our health. Yes, of course, that has something to do with our spiritual life too, because our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, and we're not supposed to be harming them. And so we want to make sure that in all this hullabaloo that's going on, we make sure that the home is the priority especially for the women. And we got used to seeing, like, physically, the physical home. We want them to be pretty, and we want them to be nice, and we want to have nice things and comforts. But we got used to seeing shows like Extreme Makeover Kitchen, Extreme Bedroom Makeover, Extreme whatever Makeover, and looking at those as though those were the ideal. Of course, it's nice to have a standard to look up to, but what about these little efforts that women make at home just to clean something, just to rearrange something, just to put their old granny's blanket over the back of a chair, or just to make a little pillow? What about those efforts? That to me is a home makeover. And so how did you do last time I spoke? I implored you to listen to this song, Savior Grant Me Rest in Peace, before you went to bed at night, and I wondered how you did with that, if that helped you at all. There's so much anxiety that has entered the home and entered the woman's mind and heart, and it's a terrible assault on womanhood. We think women are equal now, and they have all these privileges and stuff, but they have equal stress, and it's like they say, communism is equal. It means everyone will be equally miserable or equally poor. But it's the same with women's equality with men, is that what it is that they're equally under stress. And so if you could focus on your home. Now, some of you at home still have a lot of anxiety, and a lot of it could be from not getting up every hour and walking around, not getting fresh air, and a lot of it could be from being in a vehicle. And I'm not sure what all materials are in a vehicle, and what kind of, they have the air vents and stuff, and what kind of chemical is coming out of those. But there are some things that we need to check on. And when I talk about the Jane Austen life, because I was so impressed by Brian Kozlowski's book, The Jane Austen Diet, I'm not saying go back and we'll just recreate this Jane Austen world, live back there, because it was never taken away from us. We don't have to go back. We still have a place to walk. We still have our air. We still have our homes. We still have our little jackets we can make into Spencer jackets. We still have our tea. We still have the opportunity to eat fresh food. We still have the opportunity to go to sleep at night and have a relaxing night. We still have the opportunity to have bedding that's made out of natural materials that will not give us. Years ago, I thought that the artificial chemical type, acrylics and nylons and things like that, those materials that are non-woven and non-natural, they're mostly made out of oil products, were causing sleep disorders. And also could be our televisions. I don't have a television, but I sleep a lot better without something like that. And the media, we don't have to go back and say, I wish I lived in the Regency era, wish I lived in the Victorian era. You are living in the era you want to by what you do with it and what you make of it, and the things that you practice. And do you remember in his book, which I just mentioned, of the conversations of Jane Austen, was they knew when they needed to go back and lay down or sit down and be quiet. And they also knew when they needed a little socialization. But they knew, and it was distinct, and they knew when they'd had enough. And he mentioned in his book how some of the characters had to go and recover from a confrontation with someone, and they had to be alone for a while. But unfortunately, we don't know how to do that, because the generation before us was so busy working, women working outside of the home. And I saw that start in the late 1950s. And then they were too busy. They were too busy to think. They were too busy to go for a walk. They were just too preoccupied. And when they were home, they were so trying to unwind so much that they weren't present. And so, ladies, I hope that you will consider some of these things that I have suggested today in my broadcast, and stay less do less traveling in your car, do maybe less talking and texting. Just limit it. Give yourself one person or two people a day that you will text 1 or 2 times, not a long conversation, or a phone call. Limit the amount of things that you do, and see how that works. And also increase the amount of things you do by hand. Wash out one of your dresses by hand. And I was going to tell you how to do that. After you've washed it and you've got squishy water and you've used the most natural type of soaps that you can, you rinse it, and then you wring it out as best you can, and then you take a huge bath towel and you roll it up in a bath towel, and then you twist that a little bit and press it and press out all the moisture, and then you hang it on a hanger and let it air dry. And just doing this, I think, sometimes relieves the mind. Everything is so fast and noisy. The washer, the dryer, everything is so noisy. Try and do a few things by hand. So, ladies, I hope this has been good for you today, and I do wish that I could have stayed a little bit longer. Let me look over my notes, and remember to start your day with prayer. But I would suggest you get ready first, get dressed first, and have enough dignity to pray fully dressed and fixed up, and give it. It's worth giving it that honor and the time. And then your exercise, whatever you do. If you're tuning into any kind of exercise videos, I've mentioned several that I like. They often have a standing up exercise, but if you like an exercise, you can actually sit in your chair and do every exercise that's a stand-up exercise, even a walking in place exercise. Even a walking exercise, you can do it sitting down. You just move your feet up and down. You can do any exercise that's a stand-up exercise sitting in your chair, and it can make such a difference. But I will suggest you get up every hour. Just get up every hour, walk somewhere in your house, and that is if you're having a lot of sit-down work. Now, if you have a lot of stand-up work, you need to go sit down every hour and have your wee spot of tea. So ladies, I hate to say goodbye, but I do have something else I need to do today, and I'm sorry this is not as long, but you'll have this on continuous play, and you can play it afterwards. And I do love your comments, and I do want to mention your names and read more of your comments, because I think some of you should have blogs. You just make such extraordinary comments. So until next time, I'll stay close to God. Bye.